I drew digitally every day for 30 days. The end goal? Comics. Can I get there? Who the heck knows? But let's go and analyze what I've done in these 30 days. Alright, so to start off, it looks like I did a whole bunch of scribbling, and that is, not ideal. As you can see, there's a lot of work to be done. I did some boxes, I did some just practicing lines, don't know what all of this is, but there's not much to analyze here. This guy's looking a little funky, but that's day one, right? And I'm starting off pretty new here. Alright, so for day two, it looks like we got a whole bunch of cubes in, and even the cubes look rough. Now, I'm hoping that as I look through these, we're going to see some improvement, at least on the cubes. But I did some coloring here. It looks still a lot of roughness here. So if we head over to day three, now we're cooking. Got some blending in with the shading and did some more coloring, did some faces, sort of experimenting with a comic character idea that I want. I think that these were all no reference, so I was sort of just trying to figure out body shapes, body sizes, figure out how people might look when they're doing certain actions, and yeah, there's not much to show, but definitely already seeing improvement. So, moving on, there's going to be a few skips here, but I started studying a book that was all on anatomy, and where is that book? The book is called Dynamic Figure Drawing, and we're going to be going through a few days where I was actually just going through this book, taking some pointers, trying to do some stuff. So this day it was looking like I was trying to figure out some collarbone stuff, figuring out how to find where the nipple placement is, which helps you find the chest placement. With day 8, I was focusing on the cylindrical shapes of the arms and the legs. And so you can see this was a first try, a second try, and a third try was down here. So we got some improvement over here where it's like I sort of just tried to get the basic shape and the directional pull of everything, and then sort of put more detail. And then with this one, I just redrew it and did it all over again, but put the heavy detail in. Now moving on, looks like we did all arm columns in here, and it's gonna get a little messy. There's a lot to look at in some of these, and also some of them have not a lot to look at because I didn't have a lot of time some days and I had more time other days. But for the most part, I'm already seeing improvement. That's definitely good for my ego a little bit, because as you're going day to day, it's so hard to see your progress. And although it's very small and minuscule, if you go through this is the importance of keeping your sketchbooks. And if you go through them, you definitely see the improvement, especially if you're drawing daily. That's huge. Drawing every single day gives you the encouragement you get into a habit, and it encourages you to keep going. So, continuing, as you can see, I definitely had a lot less time today, and there were some issues with these drawings. I was trying to figure out the torso barrel and then the pelvic wedge, and that's something that still hasn't clicked fully for me. Now, going into 2026, yeah, okay, so with this, I think I was going on to quick poses, and there's going to be some here that I did without reference and some that I did with reference, and my goal here was just to sort of figure out the body. Going on, it looks like I was going back into that dynamic figure drawing book, and I was doing sort of the butterfly effect of the glute section, also known as the butt. All right, so now we're getting into some color. This is actually something interesting to look at, and I actually like this. This looks pretty good. I know I pulled it straight from Invincible, so I was doing a complete copy, and I'm actually this is okay. This hand's pretty rough. But the face is actually looking decent. It doesn't look quite like Mark, but it looks okay. And it's encouraging to see this after seeing so much just black and white. But I think I got a little encouragement because I'm seeing a lot more detail on the legs, even if this one looks a little bit mushed up and the calf area is looking smaller, but it's I don't know. I'm definitely seeing improvement, especially from day one, which was just rough stuff. And where were we? Right here. So getting color in finally, I need to do color more because once I get a colored thing in, it's so encouraging because even if it's a rough drawing, it still looks fun to look at. So yeah, it's definitely I need to do that more because going back now we're going back to a bunch of black and white, and it's less encouraging than looking at this beautiful vibrant colors. And Invincible is great for that because he's got such a good contrast with the yellow and blue. But going here, we got a lot more leg studying going, looking at the muscles a little bit more. It's funny, I'm looking at these feet, and it's like I got to a foot study later, and all of these feet are looking so funky. This one's like so flat over here. And I know that I got to feet. Actually, it looks like I started trying right here. This might have been the first one. And my drawing is like so ADHD. I'm like all over the place. I could have drawn this first and then this last. I think actually this one was last because I think we're getting to a foot study coming up. Yeah, here we go. So this, I was just looking at sort of these different shapes that connect and trying to figure them out in my thick head, how they work when it's connecting to that ankle area. And I think the next one, we're also looking at feet. Yeah. And so as you can see here, there's this wedge shape that I basically took this and then redrew it and then put the detail in. And we're already seeing like a lot of like going through and drawing the shapes and then trying to draw the foot right after. There's something that I could have done better, and that's drawn a lot more. But I was definitely stretched for time some of these days, and maybe I was just a little bit lazy some of these days too, where I should have been drawing like 50 of the same thing, where I was just drawing one of the shape and one of the more detailed ones. What I should have done is drew the shape and then draw 30 of the foot, and I think it would have clicked into my head a little bit better because right after I started moving on to other things. Oh, and we got to a physical drawing day, and I'm not going to show that because my sketchbooks are like crazy. As you can see, I started doing hands, and I don't know why. Now, there's definitely a lot of improvement to be done still, but looking at these, it's like, why is it that hands is the one thing that I seem to be able to get at least a little more detail in and a little more interesting stuff going when everyone says it's like the most complicated thing. It's like, yeah, my feet are terrible, my arms and legs are terrible, my chest and pelvis is terrible, head's awful, hands for some reason just click in different, and I don't know why, but maybe it's something I need to just like pursue more, just draw like crazy amounts of hands, draw hands everywhere in my comics. But yeah, I think especially like this one we've got like an interesting pose where it's looking, there's a little bit weirdness over here between the pinky finger and the ring finger. This one's looking a little rough, but other than that, like they're looking pretty decent. Like there's a lot of work to be done, but we're progressing. And then we're going backwards. Going back to, I think with this one, I was really just trying to draw. Oh yeah, no, with this, I started going without reference. I was just trying to draw some poses without looking at anything. I wasn't looking at quick poses. I wasn't looking at my dynamic figure drawing. I was just trying to figure them out. We're going to go through a couple days that are imagination, and man, I'm just not there. And now that I'm doing live streams, it's like I'm trying to do a lot from imagination. It's like, oh, this is rough. This is rough. There's a lot of work to be done, and I'm going to be saying that a lot. Going on, looks like we did a few heads here. It looks like I was doing no reference still, and I think we have a couple more days of no reference. I think I actually wrote last day no reference at the top once we get there. So these are just a bunch of heads, and one of my weakest points is hair, so that's something that I need to work on a lot, and you're going to see a lot of bald people or people without good hair. and that's just something that we're gonna have to work on. All of my eyes are really rough, and my wife always tells me that my eyebrows are one of my weakest points too on the face, and I definitely see it here. There's a lot to figure out. Drawing is complicated, but it's so fun to just sort of figure it out and especially see progress. Oh, more color. Exciting. Yes, we're still going without reference. And I actually remember drawing these because I was so happy with this girl right here. The shading is like simple, but I loved it. And it's funny, my eyes still look like pretty dead on the eyes, but once you add color, it just adds quite a bit. Like, these are rough. I can tell this was the first one. This was probably the second one. Don't know. And then I did these last, and it was just like, I'm gonna really get into this and try to get something interesting going. And the ear is just a flat color. But other than that, I was pretty happy. I was just getting back into coloring. It's nice because I never really colored as a kid. I always just sort of sketched, and it's nice to finally get into coloring and figuring that out. That's something that I still need to learn. I need to get like a book on color theory. All right, going into, what is this, day 18? We might be in like day 24 because this is 2026, day 18. Once again, no reference. Figure out their hair, figure out, because I have a character that I want to do, and this was actually trying to figure out what he's gonna look like, and none of these are passable. But it was fun doing some different coloring for skin tone, and there's a lot to be figuring out with color. But for the most part, I'm starting to get a little better with eyes. The eyes look a little bit less dead than what was it? Back here. And yeah, it's something that is starting to come together. The hairline's a little bit better. Last day with no reference. Yeah, here it is. So looks like we finally might be getting to stuff that is gonna have reference again. And this stuff is, obviously I didn't have a lot of time, and I was just sort of noodling around with what I'm doing. So if we jump over to here we go. Now we're cooking. Now we're getting something in. And this is where I spent like, what was it, like an hour and a half doing this. And part of it was figuring out Clip Studio because I was sort of figuring out backgrounds, how I'm going to do that in the future. And this is my first time drawing a background in any way, and I sort of just did a gradient for a sunset. He's flying through the air. He flew through a puff of clouds. I did do this straight from reference, and it's not accurate to the reference. Now, as you can see, my hands here, I think, are the strongest thing on this picture here. The face is looking a little rough. This is probably the best thing that is going to come of these 30 to 40 days here. Next, as much as I don't want to move on, looks like we were just sort of trying to figure out how to draw in frames and stuff. These were with reference, so we just found different places. Random stuff here, not very good settling down and looking at one thing at a time. Very jumping around. Single eye over here, 3 noses that look the best on this page, probably, other than maybe this face. Then I was sort of, these two were without reference. I was just sort of trying to do a frame to frame storytelling way to do something. And I don't know what's going on here. These definitely were no reference, but I don't know what I was trying to do. These eyes are huge. This guy's eyes are pretty spread apart. But I think I'm just experimenting, going with the flow. So for the next day, it looks like we're once again just scrambling around. It seems like when I stopped doing my dynamic figure drawing study, we lost sight of sitting down and just studying things. It's very random right now, just lots of random stuff, and I think a lot of this was without reference. Just sort of figuring out things on my own, I guess. But we won't sit here too long. Continue moving. Yes, here we go. Okay, so I just flipped through another Invincible book, and got a whole bunch of different references to draw from, sort of figuring out different positions, different fighting poses, different just neutral poses. And I think I drew this first and I was like, this is not working. So I just jumped in and redid this over here. And yeah. All right, with this, I remember I put on some music and just sort of tried to do some storytelling without reference. So just had a little guy up here. He's on the roof from the behind, and then looking down, sort of a smirking face, and then jumping down, action, and then falling on them and stabbing them, and then everyone's on the ground. And as you can see, once I got to these last few frames, it looks like I just gave up. but for this day, it looks like we did just random references from different stuff. I can see that some of these stuff were without reference, and I did a little mixing. Like, I know this was with reference, this was with reference, but it looks like everything else might have not been with reference. I'm really trying to figure out how to draw it with my imagination, and it's so complicated because it's not clicking in some of these things. And there's probably some improvement with my imagination throughout these days, but for the most part, I think the most improvement is coming from copying, and that's not where I want to be, but at least it's something, and it's something that I am improving on, and it might help me draw from my imagination a little bit better over time. But we're coming up to the last days here, and it looks like this day I didn't have a lot of time, so I just went to quick poses and drew a bunch of stuff really quickly, got some stuff in. And I another thing that I need to do is slow down, because all of these drawings I did super fast and quick. It's like, I need to finish this, get the basic shapes done, move on to the next thing. And I think that's a big problem that I face, and something that I need to sort of fix, because I get some decent stuff eventually once I'm copying, but if I took the time, spent more time with it, colored it, and got it to a place where I wanted to color it, I think we could see a lot more improvement through these days. But for the most part, I was just trying to draw really quick. And this is another one from Immortal Hulk. And then it looks like right after that, I just went to no reference and just started trying to figure out eyes, because I think I was really disappointed with my eyes that I was drawing. So I went in and just sort of tried to figure out how to fix that, how I can do a little bit better. And I think we have one last day here. It actually looks like I missed a day that was at the end, but we'll do this last day. And now we're at what I am live streaming. So for those of you that don't know, anyone who's new here, I started live streaming drawing, and that is basically just so I can get maybe a little bit of pointer, a little bit of tips from people that are chatting with me. People can draw along, just keep it chill, and I can figure out everything in front of people, and it maybe encourages me to put a little more thought into what I'm drawing. If we go back all the way to these first couple days, it's like, yowza, we're seeing a lot of rough stuff. And then we flip over all the way to our last day, and it's like, you come over here, it's like, wow, this is actually, these bodies are looking good. And even without a reference, now I did draw this right after drawing this, but there's improvement, and that's what this is about. And I'm so happy that I have improved, and we can do something a little bit better. So I thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for joining me. If you made it this long, congrats. And I'll see you next time. Peace out.